Hello, my name is Chef Lee Blackmore, and I'm going to show you around our West City campus so you can see some of the tools and equipment you'll be working with when you come to in-person classes. Within your line of sight, the law says you must be able to see a hand washing station so that you can wash your hands easily at all times. We have several located around the classroom, and with paper towels and soap and water. So hand washing is the first and most important thing you do before you enter the kitchen and touch food that people are going to consume, of course. We have our first aid station, should we need it. And then when you get out of that, the first thing you might work with is prepping food and cooking food. I'm going to show you the hotline first. This is where a lot of the cooking activity occurs. We do cook at our tables a little bit on induction burners sometimes. This is like a real world restaurant with real world equipment, but unlike a restaurant where you might have 2 people prepping on a table and working in a hotline, we'll have 30 people in class cutting and prepping. So a culinary kitchen to learn on is a little different than a real world kitchen. You have a lot of prep tables and you have one hotline, of course. So people will be taking their turns up here, cooking from time to time. And one of the first pieces of equipment here is our double rack convection oven. Convection because the fan is spinning. It heats about a little more efficiently and quicker, so you lower the temperature 25 degrees from a standard conventional recipe so that it cooks properly and thoroughly. But it gives you a browner, nicer finish like you see in restaurant food than people can usually achieve at home without the fan. And then we have our deep fat fryer when you're frying something, we fry some things. We don't fry a whole lot here. We're not teaching how to take food from freezer to fryer like you might in fast casual dining, but there's still many things that get fried, and using the fryer and how to clean it, how to operate it, and how to use it safely is an important component. We move on to the grill, and the griddle, also called the flat top. You might grill a steak and griddle a pancake. So flat top or griddle and the grill. This gives you radiant heat from the bottom up, and this gives you conduction heat with the flat plate. Underneath all of them are ovens that are also convection, just like that one. And then this is called a broiler or a salamander. You might be used to one at your home that's underneath your stove. This one pulls out and it cooks from the top down. This can't bake, it doesn't have a door that shuts, so really you're just browning things. This doesn't really cook food as much as it finishes or browns them when they already come out of the oven, with the exception of some foods. You have to be very thin and cook quickly in it because you're putting the food on a tray here and it's cooking from the heat coming down through radiation. This moves the plate up or down. Moving over here, you have your burners. These 2 units have 6 burners each, we have a total of 12 here, and we use gas because gas is a preferred method of cooking in kitchens. Unless you're in a galley, which is a mobile kitchen, they may use electric, like if you're on a boat or you're on a plane or a submarine, they may choose not to use fire. But in almost all commercial kitchens, you're going to use gas, not electric or induction as much. We have our pots and pans. These are pans to cook with, saute pans. We have our herbs and spices that students would go to for seasoning the food. All of our measuring utensils and cooking implements and tongs and whisks and ladles are contained here because we're close to the dish station or the dish pit or the scullery, it's called. And the scullery is where, of course, you wash dishes. You cook here, you wash dishes here. So we wash our own dishes. They go through a 3-compartment sink or the automatic machine and they come out and get put away. So this is where we keep all the pots and pans clean and sanitized. We have reach-ins and walk-ins. Reach-in means you reach your hand in like a home refrigerator. This is our refrigerator unit, and you can reach into it for whatever you'd be storing quickly to work with during the day. This is a reach-in freezer. It will hold something that you're just working with near the tables. Because the rule of 4, you don't want food to sit out more than 4 hours total from the time you receive it to you're cooking with it to get it out to the customer. So it's more convenient to leave it in the freezer and bring it to the table when you're ready to work with it. Then as we come around, we plate things on dishes. We have a lot of beautiful dishware. Some of these plates are $35 a piece, just like you would see in a restaurant. So it lets you practice on real world dishes in China that you would see. White or off-white's usually preferred because the food colors your plate and your palate. So we start with a basic white color in school. Sometimes it's nice to have other colors to accent certain foods, and we do that, but your general plates are white or cream or bone colored. As we move to the back, we have our walk-in refrigerator and freezer, and it implies you walk into there, and it stores everything like in a regular refrigerator, although you have the ability to stand in there and work. We wash our own towels and things that we use, so we have a washing machine and dryer. We have a mop sink because we mop our own floor and sweep our own floor and keep things tidy, so our chemicals are stored in there. And the law says it has to be in its own closet with a locking door because you do not want to mix chemicals with food. And so that keeps bleach and things like that away from the food that we eat. In here it's a little dark, but we have the storage room, and this is dry storage where you store foods that do not require refrigeration. You don't want them sitting out. So, we keep some big equipment in here, and for our day and our night program, they have their own cages, and we put in there anything like rice, beans, pasta, anything that's unopened that doesn't require refrigeration till it's opened can live in here until we open it. So that's the dry storage. We have an ice cream freezing unit, and it uses refrigerant to freeze ice cream in this chamber. It's all taken apart right now to stay dry so it doesn't breed bacteria, but we can freeze ice cream quickly when we're doing multiple batches in school with that. As we move over here, when you take the summer molecular class that we offer, if you choose to, you get to work with some of the things used in molecular gastronomy, a little more fancier equipment. So we have immersion circulators that cook things for bringing the food to equilibrium in a water bath, sous vide cooking as it's called, under vacuum in French. This is the anti-griddle, meaning the antithesis of a griddle. It's a freezing griddle. It gets so cold on top that when you put liquids on it, they freeze. So you can make little discs of things. So instead of cooking, you're freezing on it. So it's a cold plate that's extremely cold. We have a vacuum sealer because in sous vide under vacuum, first you take food, you put it in a bag and you seal it with flavor, and then you put it in the water bath to cook it. So this is our vacuum sealer for preservation and for sous vide. In a kitchen, you wash dishes in the scullery we showed you, a 3-compartment sink, but when you need to prep vegetables, wash them off, and you need to get water to cook with, you should not take it from the dish station where cleaning is going on. So you have a 2-compartment sink where vegetables are washed, food is defrosted, and water is acquired for cooking with. We'll move around this way and come to the back, and then our back area is the baking department. So we keep all the baking supplies, and we have hotel pans and sheet pans, and we have cake pans and bundt pans and vacherin rings and molds and cutters and everything you need in baking. Bundt cake pans. We have our turntables for cakes. We have timers. We have all the mixers. We use the Glow brand currently. And then baking spices and baking equipment is all contained in this area. Scales where we measure things. We have our larger Hobart mixers for large scale mixing in the 20 quarts, and then those are the 5-quart or 6-quart mixers over there. This is a smoker used for smoking meats, so we'll bring it outside when it's time, of course, but it can smoke any kind of meat, and it goes in the chamber there, and it gets a nice smoke to the meat. When we do cook with alcohol, we don't drink it in school, but we cook with it. That's part of the learning process. We keep it locked up here, and we have different liquors and some things like propane tanks for brulee, creme brulee with a torch, things like that are controlled items we keep locked up here. And then our ice machine for icing down food to keep it safe and sanitary, or cooling down liquids like stocks and soups and sauces. We have our ice machine. And that is a quick tour of the kitchen. Of course, we have our tables where you would prep at, and underneath are the cutting boards and some bigger pots and pans. And that basically is the kitchen. It's fun. You learn a lot of things, and you get to see real world equipment and how it's utilized. And that gives you a really great background and experience. Not only do you need to know how to cook, but students need to know how to operate this equipment. And employers, that takes time to slow down and show you. When you've already learned on this equipment, it makes you a much better candidate for a job because you are versed on these equipment, how to break them down, how to clean them, how to set them back up, and how to use them. Thank you very much for your time.